been a vegetable garden in my life for about 40 years now. My family always had a garden when I was growing up, and Karen and I have had one since the early 90s. Of all the lessons learned over these decades, perhaps the greatest is that there's always so much more to learn. And though personal experience is a great teacher, I also find books to be a wealth of information and inspiration. So today I thought I'd share with you my 5 favorite gardening books, as well as what's currently on my reading list. The first book not only had a big impact on how I approach gardening, but also was the inspiration for the name of my channel, One Straw Revolution by Masanobu Fukuoka. Fukuoka developed his methods in post-World War II Japan at a time in which traditional Japanese farming practices were being phased out in favor of American practices. While neighboring farms were using synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides, Fukuoka took a very different approach. To quote One Straw Revolution, "My way was opposite. I was aiming at a pleasant, natural way of farming, which results in making the work easier instead of harder. How about not doing this? How about not doing that?" That was my way of thinking. I ultimately reached the conclusion that there was no need to plow, no need to apply fertilizer, no need to make compost, no need to use insecticide. When you get right down to it, there are a few agricultural practices that are really necessary. Fukuoka called his method natural farming or do-nothing farming. He grew rice, barley, rye, vegetables, citrus, and more using only hand tools. And his yields were as good or better than neighboring farms that had adopted modern agricultural techniques. He also spent much less time laboring in the fields and maintained soil fertility simply by returning rice, barley, and rye straw back to the soil as mulch, and by growing nitrogen-fixing cover crops. He kept pests under control by creating an environment favorable to both pests and predators, and letting nature find its own balance. One Straw Revolution has had a huge impact on how I approach gardening. By asking the same questions as Fukuoka, how about not doing this? How about not doing that? I've been able to eliminate a number of unnecessary gardening practices and products, and have saved time and money in the process. I hope to continue to ask these questions even of my remaining gardening practices, and continue to simplify my approach over time. The next book that had a big influence on me was Teaming with Microbes by Jeff Lowenfels and Wayne Lewis. This book advocates the use of compost, compost tea, and mulch to promote a healthy soil food web, which leads to healthy plants. The soil food web consists of all living organisms in the soil, everything from bacteria and fungi to nematodes and protozoa to arthropods and earthworms. All of these organisms play an important role in making nutrients in compost, mulch, and the soil available to plants. The book not only covers the science behind the soil food web, but also offers practical instructions on how to make compost and compost tea, and how to mulch your garden. We've been following the methods recommended in this book for years, and have had excellent results. Elliot Coleman's book, Four Season Harvest, has been a true inspiration for me. It not only taught me how to extend the growing season using unheated hoop houses and cold frames, but also what to grow. This book introduced me to cold weather favorites like mosh, claytonia, mizuna, and tatsoi. Rather than try to grow warm weather crops in heated greenhouses, Coleman grows cold hardy crops that can survive part or all of the winter under 1 or 2 layers of protection on his main farm. Here in my Zone 5 garden, you can see lettuce still growing in late January under 2 layers of protection, a hoop house and a cold frame. Late this summer I hope to build a larger walk-in size hoop house. Inside the hoop house I'll have cold frames which will provide a second layer of protection during the late fall and winter months. This approach will enable me to grow a wider variety of crops well into the winter and some through the entire winter. Paradise Lie is the story of Eric Tonesmeyer and Jonathan Bates' journey to transform a small urban backyard in Holyoke, Massachusetts into an edible garden oasis, consisting of mostly edible perennials. My wife and I have the same goal, so we were very impressed with what Eric and Jonathan were able to accomplish on their 1/10 of an acre lot. And though not really a how-to, they do a great job of describing the process of how they transformed their yard into an edible garden oasis, and they provide a lot of detail on the different edible perennials that they grew. We also added a number of edible perennials to our garden last year, and will continue to return to Paradise Lot in the future for more ideas and inspiration. If you're looking for one great all-inclusive how-to book, I can think of nothing better than Edward C. Smith's The Vegetable Gardener's Bible. This book covers it all, and if you're new to gardening, it will provide you with enough information to get you started and keep you going for years. I still refer to this book fairly regularly. It covers how to start your own seeds, plant spacing, pest control, how to make your own compost, how to extend the growing season, and much, much more. It also includes detailed instructions on how to grow a wide variety of crops using organic methods. I highly recommend this book, especially for beginners. So those are my 5 favorite gardening books. If you have a favorite book that you'd like to share, please leave a comment below. As we close, I'll show you my current reading list, as well as some of the other books in my gardening library. Well, that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching. And until next time, remember, you can change the world 1 yard at a time.